Oftentimes people talk about the measures that are needed to turn a house into a home. I like to think that in the Blavatnik School of Government's case, we're turning our current assortment of premises through the hard work of everybody here into a home and a place that we will call our own and will be recognised as the place from which the school is based in the future. And we enormously appreciate all the care, thought and incredibly hard work that's going into making that happen. That's enough from me. I would now like to hand over to the Vice-Chancellor of Oxford University, Professor Andrew Hamilton, to talk to you about the university's view of our new building.
Callum, thank you very much indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, let me add to Callum's words, my words of welcome to you all on this rather blustery, chilly morning in Oxford. But I think you will all agree we are gathered on what will become one of the great spaces in the University of Oxford. This rooftop terrace with a magnificent view. It's about a 300-degree view around across the university looking to the hills. This is going to be a fabulous place for parties. I can see that in the future. And many will take place here. And all of us recognize what a special moment this is. You do, of course, understand that the ceremony of topping out is a terribly symbolic one, reaching the top in the creation of the frame of the building. To have a ceremony at this time actually stretches back many centuries, even to ancient Norse time. There was a celebration of the completion of the frame. And in those ancient Norse periods, they were terribly worried about evil spirits. And so one of the steps in the topping out ceremony was to sacrifice the architect. And so Ascan from Herzog de Meuron has kindly offered himself today. The evil spirit, there are no evil spirits in Oxford, so we don't have to worry about that. But ladies and gentlemen, I think you all agree, as we approach this building, walking over from another marvellous building, the Mathematics Institute, you got an opportunity to see just how magnificent this building will be, to see the first panels of glass beginning to be positioned on the exterior, to walk through the door and see that wonderful spiraling staircase and the space that it will define, what will become the forum, a gathering space for students and faculty to debate and discuss. You really can see what a magnificent building this will be. And as Callum said, it will be a home. It will be a home for the Blavatnik School of Government, the students, the faculty and the staff. And what a magnificent home it'll be. And Oxford, you will agree, is a city with an outstanding collection of buildings, that many of which owe their existence to the University of Oxford. This building will join that pantheon. It's a building designed, as you all know, by the distinguished firm of Herzog de Meuron. We'll be hearing from Ascan in a few moments, the architect. But I think you recognize the role that a building like this plays. Think of Oxford, think of the university. It would be impossible to think about the ceremonies or the concerts that take place in the university without immediately the Sheldonian Theatre popping into your head. It would be impossible to think about our great collections of art and culture without immediately the magnificent Ashmolean Museum coming into your head. It would be impossible to think about our libraries, our books, without the Bodleian and soon to be the new Western Library popping into our head. Right next door, we've got Green Templeton College. And the thought, a moment's reflection on Green Templeton College and the magnificent Radcliffe Observatory building comes into your head. Well, we are at that moment where when we think about the Blavatnik School of Government, it is the students, it is the staff, it is the faculty and what they do. And that will always be the case. But I think all of us recognize that a year from now, when this magnificent building is built, that we will, when those 3 words, Blavatnik School of Government, 4 words, when they come into our head, this building will also be in our mind's eye. This building with its boldness, this building with its commitment to modernity, this building reflecting the 21st century challenges of government, that will very much be part of the activities that go on inside this building. It is this building that will be the symbolic vision of the Blavatnik School of Government. So it's a very exciting time. It's a wonderful moment to be celebrating the topping out. Of course, building a building is an excuse for lots of parties, and we will have another one when we open the building early next year. But it is very, very important for me to say, on a day like today, I've said it many times before, the Blavatnik School of Government will be defined by what its students, its faculty and its staff do inside this building. There will be magnificent things that they do, but it would not exist. It would still be just a glimmer in the eye of Nairi Woods or the Vice-Chancellor if it weren't for one man and his generosity, his vision, and his commitment. And that man is Len Blavatnik. And today is an opportunity again to reflect, Len, on your role, the important, incredibly important role you've played, and for us to express our thanks as we see this concrete edifice taking shape, to express our thanks to you for your generosity and your commitment to the University of Oxford. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice-Chancellor. I'm now going to hand over to the inaugural Dean of the school, Professor Nairi Woods, to say a few words.
Thank you all. There's not a community in the world, not in Africa, not in Latin America, not in Asia, and not in Europe, that doesn't wish it were better governed, that doesn't yearn for better governance. Even right here in Oxford, we do sit in this wonderful university, but only 5 miles from here are some of the worst schools in Britain, some of the poorest council estates. So even in Oxford, there is a great yearning for better government. And that's what this school is about. This school is about learning to do government in the 21st century in a whole better way. It's about learning and teaching and educating people to become trusted leaders, not fancy, charismatic leaders, but trusted leaders, leaders that can be trusted to do the right thing, to do it better, to keep learning, and to keep governing communities better. And to do that, we can't just take Oxford's governors, we can't just take Britain's future leaders. We have to learn from every country in the world, because every government gets a lot wrong, but every government gets at least one thing right. And that's what the Blavatnik School of Government is about. And that's why this building has this beautiful way of pulling people into its heart. Right down in the forum and at each level of the building, you'll see that it's a building designed to bring people together, just as our school for the last 3 years has been bringing people together from all different countries. This year's class, 75 students from 48 different countries, different parts of the world, learning from each other, learning to trust each other, learning to hold each other to account, and then going back to their countries. Some people look at us and say, are you mad? Do you really think you can change the world by simply educating a few hundred people, or by 2020, 1,000 people? But government is a place where one person makes a huge difference, and we've already seen that. We have students that we brought to Oxford 3 years ago that have gone back to their own countries and set a new higher standard and brought new innovation and used their classmates, private sector firms that have been helping us and teaching in the classroom, different foundations to do their jobs a whole lot better. So in this, every single one of you today is helping towards that goal, and we hope you'll stay with us on the journey. You'll come to the school. The school will be open regularly for anyone who's in Oxford, passing through Oxford, that's interested in hearing major issues debated, in hearing how their community might be better governed, or how they could hold those who govern them to account. And we, and I, and everyone in the school welcome every single one of you to take part in that. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for making this possible. Thanks.
So we now move to that exciting point in the ceremony where we actually top out the building. So I'd like to invite the assembled company here to step over. I think colleagues from Lang's, led by Mike, are going to make sure that we get this process right, make sure the last bit of this building is done in a suitably robust way. So Len and Vice Chancellor, I invite you to come over with Ray to top out the building. So, ladies and gentlemen, the only amateur there would have been me had I tried to give you a running commentary of what was going on in front of us. But I think you'll all agree that was expertly executed by our crack team. So I think they definitely deserve a round of applause. It now gives me a very great pleasure to ask Ray O'Rourke to come up and say a few words. Ray is the chairman of Laing O'Rourke, as many of you will know. Ray.
Yes, still morning. Good morning. And I'd like to say a special thanks to Oxford University for entrusting this project to Laing O'Rourke. It's a very exciting project. And indeed, it was a great honour last night to meet Len Blavatnik at the wonderful dinner hosted by Sir Ivor Roberts at Trinity College. It was a wonderful event. I'd also like to extend thanks to the design team with whom we've worked here, Herzog de Meuron, Pal Freshman, and Hor Lee. A wonderful experience, and I hope that it has been as enjoyable for you designing as it has been for us constructing what you're doing. And I want to say a special thanks to the project delivery team under the guidance of Mike Morris and Stephen Holland. I think we see a great outturn here today in terms of the work that's been completed to date. Unusual to make a special and particular vote of thanks to Mel Banks and Leo Madden and the team who actually of tradespeople who have actually created this, because in this day, in this country, it's not that easy to get the skilled workforce that's required to do this. And no pun intended, but it's a little bit like constructing a Swiss watch. So Herzog de Meuron should be very happy. As Anna Stewart, our CEO, mentioned last night at dinner, this is the 10th project in succession that Laing O'Rourke have done for the University of Oxford. And one can only wonder how many more projects we have to do before we become a trusted partner. And I'm hoping that'll happen very soon. The first time I came down to Oxford was in 2001, and I met Professor Graham Richards, who is the professor of chemistry here, and he was doing his new facility. I met him recently at a dinner, and he asked me how things were going, and then he made the remark that Laing O'Rourke have built more at Oxford University than Thomas Cromwell. In that regard, Professor Nairi Woods was giving me hell last night as to whether or not we'd get this project complete so that she can take possession on the 1st of September. And all I can say to you, Nairi, and to all the other people assembled, when anybody mentions the name Cromwell to an Irishman, I can assure you, you have our attention. And it instills a certain level of fear that hopefully will make sure that we get it done. So it remains for me to thank you. We're delighted to be doing the project, and it's a wonderful achievement to date. Thank you very much.
A man who always brings sunshine to the assembled company. Now my pleasure to invite Askan Magenthal to speak on behalf of Herzog de Meuron, who have designed the building.
Thank you. For us, this is of course a great moment. It's always the best moment when the buildings basically are topping out and you suddenly see the fruits of your hard work and labor and intensive night shifts. So for us, this building was always special from the very beginning. It's an amazing place, Oxford. It's an amazing site. And what we basically created here wants to be a gatehouse for the entire ROQ campus. So it becomes the entry point for an entire extension of the University of Oxford. And I think the building expresses this quite nicely in its circular shape. It really allows the people to flow in and flow around. And that's basically what we intended to do. The building has two scales, which is also very important. There's the very human scale towards Walton Street, picking up also the scale and proportion of the neighboring buildings, but also creating an inviting gesture to really get the people thrilled and excited and basically makes them want to enter the building. Towards the back has a much more grand scale. It's an institutional building, and it's also important that a building expresses this, that it's an important building within the overall campus. But maybe the most important part is the inside. The heart of the building was mentioned before, the forum space. We designed the entire building around the forum space. The forum space is the place where the students and the faculty meet and exchange informally and formally. And basically we have the three teaching floors seemingly seamless, basically stitched together over these big grand stairs, which are not only circulation features, but also possibilities to sit and meet and exchange, and this is very important for us. So a truly public building, and all the way up to the very top. You have a visual connection into the tower, and then the tower offers the common rooms, which are much more quiet, with a spectacular view, but still connected to the same heart, to the same forum. And just one last word to the outside of the building. I think you can barely recognize it now already, but there are elements already going up. And again, I think you can clearly see the inspiration we drew from Oxford and the Oxford built monuments. There's the concrete, which in shape and color definitely reflects the typical Oxford stone. There's the glass in its elegance and precision and vertical orientation and overall proportion, reflecting and playing with the theme we kind of found at the Bodleian Library. And there's many other features, and we truly think that what we've done here is a reinvention somehow of some of the ingredients which are here in this very special place of Oxford. So my biggest thanks goes to the client team, of course, with Nari and Callum and Matt and Dave Oakey, who have been a fantastic partner in developing the functionality and the workings of this building, and to truly make it a building which hopefully is also a fantastic home for the school. Of course, Laing O'Rourke, which have been fantastic partners, and I not always say that with our construction companies, but typically always we aim to establish really a good working relationship with the constructing firms, and this was definitely possible here. We had a fantastic dialogue, and the quality of the execution is fantastic, and we're very pleased with it. The speed is also pretty impressive. So a big thank you to Mike Morris, Steve Holland, and John Beveridge, but also Mel Banks and Tim Rao, who are doing really a fantastic job on this side. And then, of course, the biggest thanks goes to Len. Without him, we would not be here today. This was mentioned before. But also, not only his generosity and his generous support and commitment is so important, but also his Len as a person to discuss the design. You know, the overall clarity of the design, of the composition, of the proportions, is a result of a close exchange with Len. And I think it was worth the exchange, and you can tell that this is a very custom-tailored, very precise, very neat building sitting in the heart of Oxford. So thank you very much, and enjoy the sunny day.
Thank you very much, Askan. Well, he's been much mentioned. It's now the opportunity to invite Len Blavatnik to come and say a few words to us all. Len.
Good morning, everyone. Let me just start by saying this is the prettiest and the cleanest construction site I ever been to. And probably the only construction project which seems to be on time and on budget. So with that, I thank the construction company and Ray personally. We just met, but I can see that you do what you say, and it's a pleasure to be involved with you, and I think you deserve the status of a trusted partner of Oxford University. That's my 5 cents. Also to the architects, to Ascot, but to the whole firm of Herzog de Meuron, I hope you're as pleased as I am walking through the building. Obviously, it's not complete, but I feel like I'm in the building of the 21st century. Not 20th century, not 16th century, but 21st century. At the same time, we're in the midst of Oxford, arguably the best, or one of the best universities in the world. And I think university and everyone here deserves to have the best building possible. And that's, I want to describe kind of what I was trying to explain to the architects, kind of what my vision was. And maybe at a very simplistic level, you might remember this, I explained, I said then, a student from China going to School of Government at Oxford wants to send a postcard home or whatever the email equivalent or texting equivalent would be, I would love him to send the picture of this building and not of traditional Bodleian or 16th century building. And that's why it took us actually a very long time to select the architectural firm. We went through many different trials, and I think even Neri was getting frustrated with me. But luckily, we finally settled on Herzog de Meuron, who are the best, one of the best architectural firms in the world. And the building like this deserves the best. So I think it's all coming together. I'm very pleased personally to what I see and where we are. That's the building and outside the building, and the student body is as impressive as the building. I spent some time with the students last night and this morning, and I think they're getting better and better. They're exceptional. The faculty is exceptional, and the leadership, Neri Woods, and with the Vice Chancellor and Roger, everyone here, really the most talented, exceptional people we can bring to this kind of special school. So in my mind, the dream is almost fulfilled. It's not such a long journey. We started about 8 years ago. I'm sorry that Lord George Weidenfeld is not here. He's 95 years old. But 10 years ago, he really influenced me. When he was young, he really influenced me kind of in contributing to this fantastic project and idea and to the university. I'm sorry he's not here today. So in the context of university history of 1,000 years, 10 years is nothing. But I think we're getting close to having something very special. And hopefully in 10, 20 years, this building and the school will be as integral to Oxford as any 16th century institution. And again, thank you to all of you, everyone who is involved or will be involved. And I hope we meet again soon at the opening of the completed building.
Len, thank you very much indeed. You've all been very patient. You stood in a modestly cold environment for a little while, listening to a number of speeches. There's one final tradition that remains, and Mike Morris, project director here at the school, is going to lead us in that final tradition.
Thanks, Callum. It's just really the tradition of the guys behind you there have delivered this building over the last 12 months. So we traditionally have 3 cheers, hip hip hooray. So if you take your hats off, hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Thank you very much.
So thank you all very, very much indeed. Those who are joining us for lunch, please make your way back over to the Mathematics Institute to join us for a glass to raise for the building and something to eat. And I'd just like to end, we've said many thanks to many people, I would just like to end once again by inviting you all to say a huge thank you to the guys who are building this incredible building. To those of you who have got, I think it's 218 days ahead of you to deliver us the building on the 31st of August. Thank you. Good luck in those days, and thank you for all the hard work.